Okay, so today I present to you the Famicom disk system. But before we talk about the disk system, let's go into a brief history of the Famicom prior to the release of this system. So in 1983, Nintendo released the Famicom disk system in Japan, 2 years prior to its NES counterpart in North America. Now, at the time, the ROM-based cartridges, which look something like this, didn't have any save features, or if they did, it was through password saves. Now this was inadequate for complex games, so as a result, 1 year later in '84, Nintendo released a data recorder, which this is what it looks like. It looks like a standard tape deck. You could also use it to play music if you wanted, but its primary purpose was to save game data. However, this was still inadequate, so Nintendo went back to work, and 2 years later, they released the Famicom disk system. Now, the Famicom disk system doesn't take standard floppy disk. When you hear the word floppy disk, you probably immediately think of something like this. However, it doesn't take this. So what does it take? Does it take 5-inch floppies? Nope, won't work. Instead, it uses a modified form of a quick disk, which I believe was only released in Japan. It's slightly smaller than a standard floppy disk, and this is what it looks like. Now this is a pirate disk. Like I said, it's a modified quick disk, so could you just put a quick disk in there and it'll work? Well, not without modification, as you can see on this pirate, but it's still the same on a regular. These letters are indented, but the I and the N, if you notice, are indented further, and that is pretty much the security. Now, pirates in Japan pretty quickly realized how to get around this system, and as a result, pirate became rampant. And here's an example of a pirate disc. I have a bunch more. It says Top Gun. It doesn't have Top Gun on it. Can't remember what it has on it right now. But piracy became rampant, and that was a immediate problem. Another problem these discs had, as you can see, there's no kind of dust cover for where the actual disc is inside of it. See, as a standard floppy, you got a cool cover so you don't get any dirt on it. And without this, dirt can get on it. So to get around it, Nintendo, these games came out with paper sleeves. Now this is one for a 5-inch floppy, but the one for the Famicom looks the same, just a little bit smaller. And they came in these plastic cases. Now this worked to a degree, when Nintendo realized they messed up, and then the later releases, they came with a little bit of a dust cover. Another cool feature of the Famicom disc is they can be rewritten. However, unless you're a hacker, the only way you could rewrite these games was through a special kiosk system they had in Japan. From the system's release till about 1993, when the systems were dismantled. Now with these systems, you could either copy games off of your purchased games, copy new games onto them, or you could buy blank discs that came in blue, which allowed you, that were blank, and you could copy games onto them. These discs cost about 2,000 yen, which is about $20 or so, and to write a game onto it costs about 500 yen, which is about $5. So this was a pretty cool little feature. However, this allowed some problems to occur, so you gotta be careful when you find a game. Like I said, you can also use a standard retail game, even though this is a pirate. I'm using an example. You could write new games onto those. So, say you're getting a copy of Metroid, you buy it, you don't ask about it, and then don't be shocked if it has something else on it, say like Castlevania, or who knows what it could be on it. So yeah, that's a problem these have too. But it was a pretty cool feature back then. The blank disc, like I said, cost 2,000 yen. To buy a standard retail game would cost you about 2,600 to 3,000 yen, which is pretty cheap compared to your standard cartridge-based games. These cassettes, I mean discs, could also store quite a bit of data. This side has 64 kilobytes. This side has 64 kilobytes, so each disk allowed about 128 kilobytes or so. These disks could also be used to save data, which is a cool thing. You might ask, why don't they just use save RAM, a battery backup RAM in the cartridge? At the time, Nintendo considered it to be too expensive. However, by the time the NES came out, y'all know Zelda, The Legend of Zelda, was the first game to feature battery backup. For the Famicom Disk System, in another form probably, was destined to come out in the North American region and probably Europe too. That's why there's an expansion port on the bottom of the Model 1 NES's. However, with the backup RAM, it was unneeded, you could say. So eventually that also came out in Japan, battery backed up games, and one would think the Famicom Disk System was doomed. However, people liked its low cost, affordability, and I guess they just liked the cassettes. I mean, keep saying cassettes, the disc too. For even though it seemed that the Famicom Disk System would go extinct, it continued on. And people are using these up until now even, because it's pretty cool. Okay, now this little cartridge thing next to the actual system is the RAM adapter. This is vital to using your Famicom Disk System. This is where the temporary data and the disk system is controlled. This acts as the disk controller also for the Famicom Disk System. This has 32 kilobytes of temporary RAM, which allows the game to play. So it loads up a game, say Zelda, which was a good one, and then it would just act as a regular cartridge. However, another cool thing is some games required more than one disc, so they could be extra large. So you could say you beat half the game, then you load up the second part of the game on another disc, so you could technically get games that were quite a bit larger than any cartridge-based game could be at the time. However, early on, many of the Famicom Disk Systems were just direct ports of cartridge-based games at cheaper prices. As you can see, I have a bunch of pirate games that would match that description. Bubble Bobble, standard release, Doki Doki Panic. I don't know if this was a standard release. This, if you don't know, is what Super Mario Bros. 2 is in the North America. All they did was change out some sprites in the story a little bit, and there you go, Super Mario Bros. 2. This is the real Super Mario Bros. 2. Once again, it's a pirate copy. Here's Super Mario Brothers. And I have a couple more. I don't know what this is. It's a Konami game. So yeah, here we go. Let's look at the disc RAM adapter a little bit more. Another cool thing, it has this mysterious port on the back, which as of now, no one really knows what it's used for. Interestingly enough, I think it looks kind of like the extension port on the bottom of the Virtual Boy, so maybe they could have connected. No, I doubt. So here's the bottom. Give some warning, I have no idea what it says. Here's how it connects to the disk system. Looks very similar to an AV, Nintendo AV port. So here's the system. Cool feature. Could be run on batteries, 6C batteries, which I have it running on right now. Standard use, it's supposed to last around 10 months on daily use, which is quite good. So here's an AC adapter you could use if you don't want to use batteries. And here's where the RAM adapter plugs in. Okay, so let's show a little bit of gameplay now. Okay, I'm going to pop in some Mario Bros to show you how quick the loading time is. Say now loading, let's go. There's a message that pops up before every game. And here you go, Mario Brothers. Standard Mario Brothers, nothing special about it. And I died. Okay. So that was just Mario Brothers. I just wanted to show you how quick the loading time is. Now I'll pop in the real Mario Brothers 2 just to show you what it looks like if you haven't seen it. Now loading time is very quick. Message once again. Here's Mario Brothers 2. Looks very similar to Mario Brothers the original with slightly improved graphics. So let's go. This game is very difficult. Poison mushroom, don't want that. Here we go. Gotta get past that one. Oh, dang, that was cool, and then I died. Okay, so like I said, that game is difficult. Cool thing is, if you press the reset, it will just take you back to the main menu like if you have a cartridge. Now if you turn it off and try that, it won't work, so you'll just get back to the BIOS, which is unfortunate if you reset and you forget, I guess. I don't know. So yeah, here's the Famicom disk system. As you can see, I have it hooked up to an NES top loader with a cartridge adapter. That's why the RAM adapter is backwards. Now, one thing to note if you end up trying to buy one of these is I tried this with a clone system and it didn't seem to work. It kept giving me a battery error for some reason, even though I had brand new batteries and was plugged into the wall. So when I first got this, I thought there was something wrong. Then I realized I might as well just try it with a top loader, and it worked perfectly. So yeah, so it might not work with clone systems, I'm not sure, but my experience, it doesn't. So here it is. Pretty cool. Try to get one. Make sure if you get one, the belt has been replaced in it. Those things go out. They're kind of a pain to replace. So yeah, here it is. Pretty cool system. Pick it up if you want. Adios.